It began the summer my family moved to Harbinger Lane. We were excited about the new beginning, unaware of what awaited us. The house was old, Victorian style, with peeling paint and a musty smell. It stood like a relic from another time, whispering secrets of the past. From the moment we arrived, something felt off. There was an unsettling silence that seemed to echo through the empty rooms. The air felt heavy, like a blanket of unease had settled upon my shoulders. It was as if the house itself was watching us, waiting. I brushed it off as typical teenage angst about moving. After all, moving to a new place is always challenging, especially for someone my age. I would soon learn it was much more. The feeling of dread was not just in my head, it was real, and it was growing stronger. My parents, oblivious to my growing apprehension, were busy unpacking. They laughed and chatted, completely unaware of the house's ominous presence. I wandered through the darkened hallways, each creaking floorboard sending shivers down my spine. The house seemed to groan under the weight of its own history. The shadows seemed deeper here, clinging to the corners of every room like watchful eyes. They seemed to move and shift, almost alive. The air grew colder as I descended into the basement, the scent of damp earth and something else, something unfamiliar, assaulting my senses. It was a smell I couldn't quite place, but it filled me with dread. This house held secrets. I could feel it in my bones. Secrets that were waiting to be uncovered, lurking just beneath the surface. The first sign that something was amiss came a few weeks later. I was home alone, engrossed in a book, enjoying the rare solitude and the quiet of the night, when I heard it. A whisper, soft and indistinct, coming from the hallway outside my room. It was so faint, I almost thought I imagined it. I froze, heart pounding, and slowly peeked through the cracked doorway. The hallway was empty, but the feeling of being watched lingered. Days turned into weeks, each one punctuated by increasingly unsettling events. The atmosphere in the house grew heavier. Objects would move on their own, books would fall off shelves, and furniture would shift positions. Doors creaked open and slammed shut with no explanation. The sounds echoed through the empty house, making my skin crawl. I'd catch glimpses of shadows darting at the edge of my vision. They were always just out of reach, disappearing when I tried to focus on them. The whispers persisted, growing louder, sometimes morphing into guttural snarls that sent chills racing down my spine. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. My parents, however, remained oblivious, attributing the strange occurrences to drafts and my overactive imagination. They dismissed my fears, leaving me to face the unknown alone. Then came the night I woke up to my bed, violently shaking. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering against my ribs. The room was pitch black, the silence thick and heavy. Moonlight spilled in through the cracks in the curtains, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor. I could feel a presence in the room, something dark and malevolent. Terror, raw and primal, seized me. I fumbled for the lamp switch, my hand trembling. The room bathed in a warm glow, chasing away the shadows, but the feeling of dread lingered. I spent the rest of the night huddled under my blankets, too terrified to close my eyes. One night, the fear solidified into something tangible, something I could almost touch. I awoke to the sound of scratching coming from the foot of my bed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. My blood turned to ice as I slowly turned my head, dreading what I might see. There, silhouetted against the faint moonlight filtering through my window, stood a figure, its form barely discernible. It was tall and gaunt, with long, claw-like fingers that scraped against the footboard, creating a haunting sound. Its face was shrouded in darkness, but I could feel its eyes burning into me, piercing through the gloom. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to scream or move, my body betraying me in that moment of terror. The figure remained motionless, its presence radiating pure malice, filling the room with an oppressive dread. Then, as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, leaving behind an icy chill and the lingering stench of decay, a reminder of the horror that had just unfolded. I knew I needed proof, something to convince my skeptical parents. So I set up my phone camera, pointing it at my bedroom door, hoping to capture whatever was tormenting me. That night, as I lay in bed, listening to the familiar creaks and groans of the old house, I heard it, the distinct sound of my door handle slowly turning. I watched in horror as the door creaked open, revealing nothing but the darkened hallway beyond. When I reviewed the footage the next morning, my blood ran cold. The video clearly showed the door handle turning on its own, as if manipulated by an unseen hand. But there was nothing there.